In a certain countryside, while our Alex was leisurely fishing, a guard suddenly appeared and asked if he was interested in magic. Alex didn't understand anything but still agreed to learn magic from this person. He forced Alex to train using his imagination, like when teammates are in danger and need help. With his innate talent, he easily learned basic spells in just one session. Elders praised him because it would take a normal person an entire month to cast the magic he just did. Alex found learning this quite fun, so he asked to be taught another move. The two then sat fishing and talked about Alex's innate talent. Even if he wasn't taught, he would surely become a first-class mage in the future. The request for him was to go with the flow of nature. Alex was quite smart, asking why he was suddenly being taught magic for no reason. Elders couldn't answer this question. Just then, a fish bit the hook. With Alex's help, a large fish was pulled onto the shore. In the following days, he was taught both theory and practice. Generally, to cast a spell formula, one only needs to master the rules. In the following months, thanks to his innate talent, he learned very quickly. Those happy days finally came to an end. Elder sadly informed him that he had to leave the capital. From now on, Alex would have to walk on his own 2 feet. The mentor only advised that if he was lucky enough to get the chance to become a royal mage, he shouldn't do it. Alex asked why he was taught magic then. He gave a faint smile and said it was because he owed a debt of gratitude to Alex's late mother. Just like that, the two had to part ways without a clear reason. The scene shifts to several years later at the Royal Academy. On that day, Alex found information about his magic teacher there. As expected, Elders was the top valedictorian of that time, but after becoming a royal mage, he was expelled. This remains a mystery, so the protagonist wants to investigate deeper into why someone as skilled as him was kicked out. Eventually, Alex also became a royal mage and was also kicked out. Regulus asked what his job was. He claimed he would follow and support His Highness with magic, yet in the previous battle, he didn't do well. This guy is always charging ahead, swinging his sword on the front lines. Onyx acts as a shield blocking all enemy damage, and Lane uses fire magic to defeat monsters. Meanwhile, Alex wasn't very useful in terms of support. Alex tried to explain that he specializes in offense, but it wasn't acknowledged. Basically, they already hated him. No matter what he said, it was meaningless. Even his 2 teammates thought he wasn't a good fit. In the end, Royal Mage is just an empty title. That girl was very displeased with him for constantly hindering their deep progress into the dungeon. Only because His Majesty ordered Alex to be added to this party did they accept him, but now they don't need a useless person anymore. Onyx also agreed with this opinion, despite Alex having high achievements at the academy and becoming a royal mage. But in the end, it was just because everyone around him helped him. Being spoken to like that, the protagonist advised them to stay calm, but it only made things worse. Carrying only a short knife for self-defense, he was still scolded. The prince said that commoners are not allowed to carry weapons. Although Alex had thought carefully about needing it for the next floors, acting arbitrarily like this was something the prince did not want. It was as if he was looking down on him. This guy absolutely loathes having commoners in the party. Just like that, the cloak proving his status as a royal mage was taken away. From now on, he was nothing. After hearing this, the young man began to understand why elders advised him not to take this job in the past. However, he's a kind person. Even after being fired, he spent the evening studying possible scenarios to help the prince. If they continue down to the 30th floor, it will be life-threatening. He had always tried his best only to receive trust in return. Alex believed there was still a chance even if they wouldn't listen to his advice. He was planning to meet His Highness, but the guards blocked him. His title as a royal mage had been revoked. Commoners are not allowed to enter the royal citadel. Right then, that woman Lane came out to mark him. Still don't understand. You've been fired, so you have nothing left. She looked down on his record of conquering the Royal Citadel dungeon during his academy days, claiming that breaking the record at the 37th floor and going straight to the 68th floor was baseless. Alex begged her to help pass his information to His Majesty. Unfortunately, Lane tore it up without even looking at what it was. Kicked out like a dog, he felt helpless and didn't know what to do. Standing there, he thought to himself that he believed if he just did his best as a royal mage, he could change something. Now everything has come to naught, so he must apologize to elders for being too naive. Just then, an old friend suddenly came calling. Both were very happy to see each other and finally reunite. Yok was also a mage who graduated at the same time as Alex. After hearing the story of his expulsion, the red-haired girl understood why he had such a face. It had been 4 years since they met, and telling such a gloomy story made Alex feel ashamed. His friend thought this kingdom was incredibly out of line, always discriminating between commoners and nobles. Everything is subject to unnecessary constraints. That's why it's hard for commoners like them to develop. These words didn't sound like Yok. She felt glad that the protagonist was set free. She also took the chance to ask if he remembered her invitation from 4 years ago. That one day they would form a team together. Actually, the reason she returned to the royal citadel this time was for that matter. Once again, the red-haired girl reached out to invite her old friend to join them to conquer dungeons together, saying they really needed his strength and abilities. After hearing this, Alex's heart felt soothed. Perhaps only they acknowledged his talent. Then the young man made a decision and agreed. Even being an expelled royal mage didn't matter. What Yok needed was just the person named Alex. Furthermore, their old friends had all planned to come pick up Alex one day soon. Let's take this opportunity to reunite just like in the old days. Hearing this, Alex burst into tears and shook hands to start an ever-ending series of days just like during their school years. That year, they wanted to become the strongest. Standing at the top of their field, the rank party gained a new member. Or rather, a legend has returned. The next morning, he remembered the advice from his mentor not to become a royal mage. Currently, he is traveling with Yok to another city. The young man remarked that it seems the person who taught him magic was right to stop him from working with the royal family. At the same time, at the prince's palace, Lin had just announced that Alex had left the capital to become an adventurer. Hearing this, they found it hilarious because Alex was once hailed as a prodigy when studying at school, so he had wondered how strong Alex really was. He was ultimately just a coward. To replace his position, they had found someone suitable who was a genius from a duke's family. That woman thought that in the near future, this party would conquer the dungeon, and His Highness's reputation would echo throughout the world. Hearing this, that young man looked very expectant. A few days later, the pair of best friends arrived at the labyrinth town of Vido. True to its name, there is a labyrinth here, and many adventurers. This place values actual strength unlike the capital. That's why Yok's group of 3 always uses this place as their base. The dungeon they are currently conquering is located in the western ruins, but first they need to register Alex as an adventurer. Just thinking about their journey starting today made her feel excited. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. Alex was rejected. He couldn't get a license because he didn't have a travel permit. He needed a license proving sufficient capability to enter the 30th floor. This is a guild regulation, so temporarily he cannot conquer the dungeon right away. Even though their friend had asked to resolve this issue, it still didn't work. The grumpy receptionist kicked them out for being persistent. Hearing this, the two were speechless and didn't know what else to do. Yok blamed herself for assigning the task to Razor, knowing all along that he wouldn't get anything done. To cheer up, they sat eating cake and talked about how the rank party's dungeon progress had reached the 52nd floor. Waiting another 2 years for Alex to qualify would take too long. Therefore, the red-haired girl thought they should switch to an easier goal. At lower levels, no documents are needed. They are adventurers and this is a labyrinth city, so there's no fear of lacking work. Once again, the friend welcomed him to this place. The pair then took on some simple quests. Yok specialized in supporting teammates. After being buffed, Alex rushed into battle. His speed was as fast as a bullet. At this speed, he needed to clear this place quickly because it was annoying. Somehow, the more they fought, the more the number of monsters increased. Alex speculated that something unusual must be happening here. His friend then planned to clear a path with defensive magic, maintaining her performance just like in the old days. If it were that year, these monsters would be nothing to him. Hearing this, he realized he had been too focused on following and supporting the prince, to the point of forgetting how to fight effectively. What kind of royal mage is he now? Being an adventurer himself, he just had to fight with all his heart. Just like that, his form returned. He let York create a protective barrier while he used large-scale lightning magic to wipe out the insects in an instant. The red-haired girl also said he did very well, as it had caused her some worrying. Suddenly, a giant worm appeared from underground. Since the red-haired girl's support magic was #1 at the academy, Alex placed all his trust in his friend, and Alex was the #1 offensive magic user. Thus, just by trusting in teammates, they will overcome everything. Just like that, he fired magic straight at the monster. In front of York, thanks to the defense, she was completely unharmed. Conversely, that worm was burned to ashes. That's enough to overcome the obstacle. The best mage of that time did not disappoint. Being praised like that made Alex very happy. Recalling the old days when the 4 best friends conquered dungeons together, the team also included a young man using a spear and a female friend using defense. Facing an incredibly terrifying 5-headed dragon, the group struggled. In a moment of crisis, Alex finished chanting his spell. He used all elemental attributes to counter the black dragon. Just like that, the dragon was destroyed, making the 4 friends rejoice. Their never-ending days also began from then. Returning to 4 years ago at the Royal Magic Academy graduation ceremony. Everyone was gossiping about Alex's party, wanting to break the previous dungeon conquest record at the 37th floor. They didn't know if they would return in time to receive their diplomas. While everyone was skeptical, Sasha believed in those 4. Just like that, the strongest mage party returned after successfully conquering the 68th floor. They were ranked 1, 2, 3, and 4 respectively at the top of the academy. The teacher was constantly teased by these kids, calling her little Sasha, which made her spiteful. They thought everything would be fine after they graduated. Unexpectedly, the protagonist wanted to become a royal mage despite having been stopped by his family previously. Since his mother passed away, his father was the one who shouldered everything. At the very least, he wanted his father to live leisurely from now on, so becoming a royal mage was a good choice. He really wanted to form a team with his 3 friends. They also understood him, so they had no objections. It's just that if the 4 of them formed a team now, it would be the strongest party. York said that even if they walked different paths, remember one thing. They would still always welcome him, and one day would definitely pull Alex into the team. Hearing this, a touched Alex promised that if possible, they would all form a team together and become legends. After finishing the old story, the red-haired girl also invited Alex to a hearty meal. Her mood was very good, so she drank a lot. York also blamed herself for daring to fire such strong magic at herself. She almost got roasted into a roast chicken. After saying that, the red-haired girl fell fast asleep because her alcohol tolerance was very poor. Right then, someone quietly appeared behind Alex and started marking him. Calling Alex kind, but asking if he was old enough to shoulder the role of an adventurer in Vido. He didn't like looking for trouble, so he said nothing. The opponent saw this and thought he was being looked down upon, so he made a move. However, the protagonist raised a shield to block. He then called out the name of the person who used to be a royal mage, then gave him a travel permit to help him enter the dungeon without having to wait another 2 years. This was a gift in place of an apology for testing his skills. However, there was still a condition. He had to show a bit of magic for him to see if it was okay. While wondering who this person was, the friend woke up looking surprised that the guildmaster was here. Hearing this, Alex was quite shocked and was invited to actual combat immediately. This is an underground arena specialized for practice. The rules are very simple. If Alex is capable enough to make him acknowledge him, it's considered a win. York was afraid because they had just fought a lot. The young man agreed, saying he still had a bit of mana left, not to mention this was a golden opportunity to catch up with his group of friends. So the red-haired girl also supported him wholeheartedly, hoping he would regain his old form in the battle with the guildmaster. He introduced himself as Levin. Hearing this, Alex realized this was the person who once led an S-rank party. The battle broke out immediately. The protagonist launched a long-range strike, but it was ineffective. The offensive strike was even countered by water magic. Planning to rush in for close combat, Levin had reinforced his physical body. This person's speed was extremely fast, making it difficult for him to defend. Despite setting up a barrier, he was still blown into the wall. He truly lived up to his reputation as an S-rank adventurer. The power and speed were indeed terrifying. While thinking of a way to dodge, Alex remembered that he was no longer a royal mage. Why should he limit his inherent abilities? Down here, he was no longer bound by any irrational rules from the royal family. He saw him manifest a sword to compete. The chairman found it strange that Alex could use support spells while also knowing close combat. He launched some magic strikes like before, but this time Alex dodged. He knew clearly he couldn't match this man in direct strength, so he had to use his head to compensate. As a result, Levin fell into a trap, being shocked by the protagonist's lightning until his whole body was numb. Taking that chance, Alex launched a slash that broke through the chairman's magic. The opponent also had to admit the person you praised was not ordinary. Since he was having fun, the man wanted to go all out with Alex right here. Levin's true ability was shown. The guildmaster created a pair of gauntlets called radio. It is an extremely powerful relic that helps the user fight better. Its power was also elevated because of it, making the red-haired girl outside worried. This was only the introductory greeting, so just take your time and enjoy it. Hearing that, Alex returned the favor by firing a spell. However, this time it was no longer effective. Levin is a close combat expert, 126. 012 to 51,000, 012 to 58,000. Furthermore, that relic also has the ability to transform and can even use healing magic. A close combat specialist who can also be healed continuously is indeed a tough opponent. The longer it dragged on, the more disadvantaged Alex became due to depleting mana. He rushed into approach, not letting the opponent recover completely. Alex's swordsmanship was very good and could still deal damage. The guildmaster found him truly arrogant, continuously punching forward. However, in this match, the person who kept a cool head was Alex, exploiting the opponent's punch into the shield before he could act. Alex stabbed forward to land the final blow before running out of mana. Although a winner was not yet decided, Levin truly acknowledged his talent. Right then, Onyx walked over and marked the chairman for being so slow. An S-rank adventurer using even his trump card yet still letting his best friend slash him to pieces. Hearing this was so bitter, but the guildmaster could not deny it. The fact that the protagonist forced him to this extent showed his true strength. Thus, Alex obtained the travel permit to go on an adventure with his 3 old friends. It had been a long time since they met. Onyx walked over to praise Alex for being very good, but since he was sleeping, he heard nothing at all. Later, the other two told of Alex's hardships when working as a royal mage. It's a very long story, but can be summarized in one word: terrible. Onyx himself didn't like those royal people at all. They only valued lineage and status. But because of that, this friend admired Alex even more. Alex could endure that damn place for 4 years after all. York heard these words and made a funny face, which made Onyx furious because he thought she was teasing him again. She said, "I also have the same thought." Suddenly, the receptionist ran in to inform the chairman of an emergency. Before Misa could tell the other two, she was pulled away by Levin. Wanting to give this group of friends some time to catch up, the male friend asked the red-haired girl to tell him about what Alex had to endure. First was protecting the prince, but not being allowed to use offensive spells, forbidden from using a sword, and only allowed to follow to carry things. Using prominent magic was also forbidden. Hearing this made him very angry because what use is a mage then? York admitted what annoyed her most was them forcing Alex to use support magic. While during school days, Alex knew nothing about it. The only one good at this ability was her. That means Alex had to teach himself support magic from zero, yet they dared to treat him so poorly. Someone who didn't let his best friend use a sword or his specialty in magic, Onyx must definitely make them pay. That prince not only called the protagonist useless, but also kicked him out. The blonde guy crushed a wine bottle, intending to deal with it now, but was stopped. Alex woke up and was informed of the good news by his two friends that he now has a travel permit, so from now on the whole team can conquer any dungeon they like. The young man asked to do something more important, which was to take revenge for Alex. First, they must storm the royal palace to tear apart that damn prince. Hearing this, Alex was speechless and advised him to stay calm. It's not that he didn't hate those people, but it's best not to make things worse. Onyx was like an eye for an eye, which is common sense. The other two were calmer and advised him against it. The blonde guy asked again if he really felt okay being treated like that by teammates. Alex said it's fine, from now on we will enjoy the journey together, so it will be quickly forgotten. Suddenly Onyx came up with an idea that could make those who expelled Alex regret it, which is to become the strongest adventurers in the world. That way, the people in the royal palace would be terrified. Like if this country encountered something horrible. They would have to come begging them for help. Just thinking about that scenario made the blonde guy happier than ever. Alex also agreed with this idea. In the next room, someone was begging for help from the chairman. This issue directly affected the guild, so he also gathered all the high-ranking adventurers. Crystal and her team will form a rescue team to go to the 64th floor. Hearing this, everyone was shocked because there would be a major fight. At this time, Alex was also called to check the situation. Seeing him in this state, Sasha felt very sorry for him. Since she had just returned, the girl asked what everyone was meeting about, and why Alex wasn't participating with them. The young man smiled awkwardly and said only a rank adventurers could enter. He was still an outsider, so he didn't dare go in. His best friend then used healing magic on Alex. All the wounds and dirt were purified. The silver-haired girl said, no matter what he does or where he is, she won't stop him. However, if there are difficulties, she will certainly help. Because her specialty is healing magic. After knowing about Alex's situation, she also felt he had worked too hard, so she came to comfort him by stroking his head like in school days. The two remaining members then came in saying there was an opportunity to show off. The dungeon they need to conquer is west of Vido, where healing magic is forbidden, so how should they handle it now? They only had the option of relying on recovery potions they brought. Initially, that girl also strongly objected when she was completely countered. But afterward, some idiot still wanted to go, so she had to follow. Being criticized too much, Onyx turned to fight with the silver-haired girl. As for the party that met with disaster on the floor with the boss, and was almost wiped out, the only survivor was Crystal, who returned to report. Since this battle had to rely on Alex's ability, York wanted Alex to decide for himself whether to accept the mission on the 64th floor. He said his only worry was that his skills had declined, but as for knowledge and strategy, there was no problem. So Onyx wanted to go immediately before the chairman's group took all the good parts. This time, he formed a temporary team with their team to go there. Alex was very happy to be allowed to go along. Normally, he wouldn't be qualified to participate in the guild. The others encouraged him, saying that in the coming time, they would become the strongest party. Also, Alex was favored by the chairman, so there was nothing to worry about. The strongest party then also arrived at the dungeon. The main goal was the death floor, and healing magic could not be used. If they went floor by floor, it wouldn't be in time, so the chairman prepared items to bypass floors that had been conquered before. With this, they would go straight to the 64th floor to save time. The members following the chairman also each had a similar stone. In short, they must hurry before something happens to the people needing rescue. This battle, they will rely on Alex because the monsters there are mainly undead. The best friend asked him to save his strength until the boss fight, let them handle the weaker monsters. Crystal also agreed because they didn't know what dangers were ahead, so they had to be careful. The four friends boosted each other's spirits to start conquering the deep floor. A new beginning after a reunion like this wasn't bad at all. York then teleported the whole group inside. Their opponents were just some skeletons that weren't too strong. The young man using a spear swept them all away without needing help. Alex was quite surprised because he also possessed the Alnata relic, a black spear that pierces everything, durable, sharp, and indestructible. A simple relic like that in that guy's hands became a perfect combination. Just as he thought he wouldn't need to act, the protagonist suddenly sensed something. But when he attacked, he saw no one. However, Alex still trusted his senses and slashed immediately. A monster shaped like a Grim Reaper then appeared. Seeing this, Onyx praised his skills for not decreasing at all. The male friend knew there was an invisible enemy, but didn't know how to deal with it, so he had to leave it to Alex because he was essentially a genius mage. Receiving expectations from friends, Alex used his strength to jump up and land an extremely powerful slash that cut the monster in half. Group 2 also knew about it, but they had hidden it to test him earlier. Now they protested, so if you're going to scold someone, scold that idiot. Later, thousands of skeleton monsters appeared. Although not strong, with this number, it was indeed intense. The red-haired girl then enhanced the physical bodies of the two young men. Just like that, they broke the encirclement while leaving Razor behind to support. Alex then told everyone to hide behind him and use Guard of Thunder Descent to sweep everything clean in one strike. After cleaning up, Onyx curiously asked why Alex only used lightning spells. It was the same when fighting the chairman, even though clearly he was proficient in all attributes before. This question made Alex remember the scene of them kicking him out of the party, saying because lightning spells are the fastest triggering spells, he used them a lot. This statement made the blonde guy unable to accept it and demanded the reason behind it. The two girls had to stop them because the most important thing now was to save people. The red-haired girl then used haste on Onyx. He ran ahead, leaving the other three in the dust. York said that if he was serious, they wouldn't be able to catch up. Onyx praised his friend for doing very well in making decisions for the team. The space on the boss floor was a vast area. Below, there was a guy being torn apart by monsters, but Onyx was in no hurry to rescue him. The girls were the same, just standing there watching despite the guy's pathetic screaming. They explained that young man was Loki. True to his name, he was known as the Saint of Trickery and Foul Play. Immediately after, Loki fell to the ground, resulting in being attacked by the monster. Alex was worried and intended to rescue him, but was stopped, being told that was how the guy played, so don't worry. Just like that, traps exploded and pierced through the giant monster's body. Loki's strength was his sharp mind, so he had many tricks. But no matter how good he was, in Onyx's eyes, he was still a bastard. After dealing with the monster, the Saint of Trickery turned around with a mocking smile, marking the opponent for being so stupid, asking who would fall down in a crisis like this. Hearing that was so bitter, that creature still really wanted to destroy that jerk in one blow. The smile vanished. He thought he was definitely dead, but fortunately Onyx rushed in to rescue him before he was turned to gold. Alex would become the next opponent for that monster. York was behind supporting the defense, blocking every attack. The protagonist was planning to launch a move when suddenly that creature turned around to chase the guy who had just insulted it. Seeing it aimed at Loki, they had to warn the two. Seeing he couldn't beat the speed, Onyx risked turning his head back, now also calling him an idiot and receiving Loki as a gift. First they had to take this young man away before they could fight comfortably. The Saint of Trickery even intended to profit, but as a result, he was glared at so he didn't dare lift a hand. York cast the young man using the spear to pin down the monster. Alex was in charge of launching the finishing blow. The red-haired girl then used spells to enhance muscle strength and reflex ability, along with increasing all senses. One could say York was an excellent support. Onyx rushed in to go all out against the monster. However, his spear didn't deal too much damage to the monster, and he was even pushed back. Luckily, the red-haired girl stood up to protect him. Above, Loki saw all members of the strongest party present and was excited, wondering what Alex could do. Just as he finished speaking, about 20 spells were created simultaneously. York knew clearly that her friend could create even more. While ordinary mages can create at most 3. Taking the opportunity, Onyx continued to pin it down. Seeing Alex launch his ultimate technique, that creature intended to launch a finishing blow, but suddenly it jumped to one side. Sasha knew what she had to do and also fired a wind arrow. Combined with York's infernal chains, the two girls successfully locked down the enemy. Onyx threw his spear, piercing through the head. Alex displayed the 4-directional formation. In that situation, the creature knew it was about to die, so it still tried to trade lives. I quite praise it, must apologize. Previously he was taught by the best royal mage. At the academy they attended, only he and Alex could cast this special type of magic, a genius training a genius. Alex used full counter to reverse the monster's strike, making it take the full brunt of its own ultimate technique. The 4-directional formation burned it with hybrid fire. Once it could not move, Onyx launched the decisive blow to end the battle. After the kill, both guys claimed to be geniuses, making the two muses laugh. Now Alex gave the 4th-rank guy a recovery potion and mocked him, making him furious. Loki also came over to say hello because he knew who Alex was. Having heard of the royal mage who once defeated the Hydra for a long time, he now believed it was the truth. Alex laughed and said he no longer does that job. Hearing that, Loki felt it was a waste, but what he meant was those royal people didn't know how to keep talent. After being rescued, Loki said he would definitely repay them later. Surprisingly, the boss they just defeated was only one individual. In this place, there are still many other stronger ones. Everyone is currently engaged in battle. Hearing this, those who understood the situation was worse than they expected. The one Loki lured away had the lowest IQ. Seeing him touching her, Yuk threw a recovery potion at him. These two are like cats and dogs, as Sasha said. As for the final boss, it is a knight wearing pure black armor. And those who wear black are usually very dangerous. Ordinary physical attacks are useless because it belongs to the undead type. To reverse the situation, Loki gave Alex a new weapon, both a staff and a sword. Calling Alex just a mage couldn't fully describe his talent. Earlier he was always charging and fighting on the front lines, so Loki understood. The person most suitable to use that item could only be him. This relic is strong enough to duel with the boss. Its name is Sword of Truth, and from now on, it will be the protagonist's weapon. Sword of Truth is the title this sword achieved. Onyx found it suspicious that Loki would give his friend such a precious thing. Yuk recognized the Saint of Trickery quality, wanting to push her friend to fight on the front lines. Confusingly, Loki asked Alex not to use magic, while the enemy is undead, cunning, deceitful, and everything else. No one knows what is going on in Loki's head. At the prince's side at this time, after Alex no longer followed to protect him, many problems occurred. All three were chased by level 30 monsters like dogs and could do nothing. The girl using magic couldn't activate her skills at all. As a last resort, the prince turned back to Slash, and as a result was knocked unconscious on the spot. He couldn't understand what was wrong with him when he couldn't even block a blow like that. The hand holding the sword also became heavier than usual. Thinking back, since Alex left, this had been happening. So he suspected Alex had cast a curse on his body. After returning, the prince asked Marquis Vogel to help check. The result showed that His Highness had no problems at all. He only knew how to tell the truth, but couldn't explain why the blonde guy turned out like this. He still believed that lowly commoner had cursed him. At the mention of the name Alex, the Marquis seemed thoughtful, explaining that at floor 30 there is magic resistance, so enhancement-type support spells cannot be used. Hearing this, Regulus thought only cowards use support magic. The fact that Alex said nothing at floor 30 also surprised the Marquis. He knew clearly that was the person who conquered the 68th floor while at the academy. Regulus laughed, saying how could that possibly happen? Therefore, he would not let this matter go and must make Alex pay. Just then, someone announced the king had summoned him urgently regarding the protagonist's dismissal. Going to meet his father, Regulus thought he already knew everything. The old man mentioned the name Elders, the royal mage who once served him. He said he had expelled that person from the kingdom because he thought he was incredibly stupid. Elders once said this, that the current situation of the royal family must be changed. Otherwise, in the future, the kingdom will fall into an unsalvageable situation. A noble so arrogant to utter those words deserved to be expelled. But that was just when the story began, stripped of his title and becoming a commoner. Elders joined the academy and became the strongest, leaving everyone speechless. Then once again, he became a royal mage and gave the same advice as before. Truly an incurable fool, after becoming a commoner, Elders proved that status has nothing to do with talent. Those words had been appearing in the king's mind constantly lately. The reason he sent Regulus to conquer the dungeon was also to prove that the royal family is the peak. At the same time, to verify if Elders' words were true or not. And so now, the kingdom truly needs to change. First is to reform the recruitment of commoners. Must employ anyone regardless of status, just like Alex. Hearing this, Regulus didn't understand anything. Lord Vogel always taught him that borrowing strength from commoners is shameful, and thinking his current state was because of Alex, he didn't want to accept him. However, at this moment, someone brought Alex's torn notes. Inside were clearly written all conditions and characteristics of the 30th floor. From monsters to terrain, everything was written there. To have this important content, that person must have conquered it several times. Regulars could not accept that the one he looked down upon actually surpassed the 68th floor. The king then asked Vogel to handle the rest. Outside, that dog still acted like he was right, and even thought Alex had looked down on him, so he smashed a vase. He asked the Marquis to help with some things related to Alex. Returning to the 64th floor, the protagonist group was still discussing strategy with Loki on how to fight. Asking why they must use swords when that creature is immune to physical damage, the Saint of Trickery said, "Rest assured, I have a way." He never forbade them from using magic from start to finish. It's just that they should use it when necessary, as it will be more effective. By tricking the monster into believing Alex is a swordsman, they will gain a surprise advantage. The monster they are fighting this time is an intelligent type, so they must plot to defeat it. The other four still didn't quite believe it, so they had to witness it with their own eyes. Temporarily, Alex also agreed to follow Loki's direction. Now he was asked to use teleport to move to the boss area quickly. This is a national level magic that Loki stole, but it consumes a lot of mana, so you must also be involved for it to work. York wasn't sure if doing that was a crime. Loki said, "Don't worry, only we know, so it's fine." Alex told the red-haired girl, "If a problem occurs, just blame everything on that guy." He then drew a magic circle and let York channel mana into it. Although that guy was a jerk, he could still be trusted. 2 years ago, Loki once led a team and didn't lose anyone after returning from a dungeon conquest. Furthermore, his team leader was an upright person, so there's nothing to worry about. Alex then invited Onyx to play a game they used to play. After having fun for a while, the teleportation array was completed. Just like that, Loki took everyone to the previously marked location. To be safe, York also enhanced everyone, just in case they had to fight right away. The calculation range for teleportation was quite accurate. At this time, Loki's two teammates were straining to resist insects. Despite being very strong, they were no match for that creature, nor was there any way to escape. However, before that, the team leader asked a member to return to call for help from powerful mages. At the same time, wait for Loki to destroy the boss's mount, and then return to join forces. York currently does not have much mana left, so she is struggling. At this time, Onyx directly charged into battle. With just the first blow, he felt the terrifying power of the boss. Alex intended to sneak attack, but was dodged. After just a few basic moves, they concluded this creature truly has consciousness. The two teammates were taken to a safe place to rest. York was quite worried about the other two as they kept fighting without seeing any results. A battle-hungry Onyx continued to clash relentlessly. Waiting for the monster to dodge to one side, the blonde guy caught the rhythm and suppressed it. Thus, Alex delivered the finishing blow, sending the head flying. However, the battle was far from over. Just as Loki said, it was an undead type, so physical damage was useless. The Dullahan slowly approached, and then vanished right before everyone's eyes. The speed was beyond imagination, but Alex still reacted in time to parry. The increased power made the protagonist realize that earlier, this creature had been holding back. The red-haired girl supported from behind, enhancing Alex. He thrust his spear forward, but was blocked. Once again, the duo coordinated to push back the boss. By now, their arms were trembling from the sheer weight of each slash. Fortunately, the sword Loki gave him was a relic, which is why it could endure it. This time, the boss reclaimed its head and slashed toward Alex in a direct rage. Although he blocked it, he was still sent flying. York quickly used magic to reduce the damage and asked how much longer they needed to buy time. Loki said about 5 minutes. Easy to say, but I'm not sure if it'll be okay. Onyx strained to hold his ground and urged his friend to stop being lazy and come support him. The blonde guy, being swapped out, quickly chugged a recovery potion. Just like that, the two invigorated young men rushed back into the fray. Meanwhile, Onyx talked about the MC's past for years. He now always wore a soulless expression like back in school. He asked what on earth he had to do for his face to turn out like that. Onyx said, "Just demand that he reveal everything hidden in his heart. If we don't know, we can't save him." They didn't even know how to help him. Seeing the teammate who used to stand shoulder to shoulder with him like this, Onyx couldn't stand it. They used to eat together, sleep together. What's wrong with showing a little concern now? After hearing that, Alex also had to say a few words that he only wanted to repay his debt to his master. He believed that if he changed the royal palace, he could repay him. That's why he ignored everyone's objections to become a royal mage. In the end, it turned out like this. Fortunately, Alex's firm will help him survive in that dump called the Royal Palace for 4 straight years. That alone earned Onyx's respect. Tears then began to roll down his cheeks. Right at this moment, Loki activated a magic circle threatening the boss. He taunted, "Intelligent monsters sometimes create openings to be exploited, don't they?" Infuriated, it changed targets to chase the Saint of Trickery. Even though it landed a hit, it was only a clone of Loki. He marked that the creature was too hasty. As a result, it fell right into the traps below. Loki had tricked both the enemy and his allies into thinking he was out of mana. To be able to pull this off was truly peak trickery. Everything was within Loki's calculations to the point that Onyx was fuming. The blonde guy stabbed the monster, sending it flying toward the designated spot. Now he was also praised because after being taught just once, he had mastered the teleportation spell. The female friend, ordered to attack, also followed through. After slashing at it, as expected, the monster dodged to the right exactly as Loki predicted. The result was being completely frozen solid. Unable to take it anymore, the creature desperately rushed toward the Saint of Trickery. This time, the clone he created could no longer fool it. York also stepped up, enhancing her physical body to help him block the blow for a few seconds. Then she deployed the triple-point sealing formation, restraining the monster with thousands of chains. This binding magic requires many strict elements, yet the red-haired girl pulled it off. Loki was then knocked down but was satisfied. The young man called the protagonist's name, saying, "The best part is left for you." After restraining the boss, Alex continuously created magic circles to finish off the enemy in one blow. Loki, witnessing this scene, was also impressed because the number was even greater than when fighting the previous boss. However, the main is currently exhausted of mana, and plus, not having exerted himself like this in a long time made his body a bit weak. The young man still tried to stand up to finish the remaining task. Destructive lightning struck the monster's head, making it scream in agony. Nevertheless, when pushed to a corner, the creature still tried to escape. Onyx couldn't believe it could still move after all that. It was truly terrifying. York was trying to hold steady, not letting the triple-point sealing formation be broken. She prayed that Alex could finish the monster, otherwise, they were doomed. His hands were trembling as he urged himself to quickly draw the new technique to save his friends. Loki, seeing this, didn't blame him, because the young man had consumed a lot of mana previously anyway. A normal person might have been unconscious, but the protagonist was still trying to hold on. Even a genius has to fall eventually. At that moment, images of his teammates appeared. They all placed their trust in Alex, so no matter what happened. As well as the promise to conquer the strongest dungeon, so their names would echo across the world. If there were people reaching out to support him, he would respond. At least not letting anyone down in this situation. So, the young man used his ability to draw an entire dragon. Witnessing this sight, Loki's group of adventurers was extremely astonished. This would be the decisive attack. The opponent had also escaped the chains created by York. Immediately, it rushed into attack. Alex flew in, using powerful fangs to tear apart the boss's entire body. Victory leaned toward their side. Alex then became exhausted and immediately fell. However, that feeling of being trusted by everyone wasn't bad at all. The red-haired girl walked over to celebrate. Seeing Alex had finally regained his form, she even thought he could do even better. Onyx then declared himself the overall winner. Normally, they often challenged each other to see who collapsed first would lose. And since Alex just fell, the blonde guy won. The demand was for him to reveal everything he had suffered over the past few years. Confiding in any of the three of us would do. Don't keep it to yourself anymore, it's not good. Hearing that, the protagonist shed tears. Being cared for so much by friends, he had to say thank you. Loki took the opportunity to touch the two girls. As a result, he got beaten up. The team leader of the other group also came to bow and thanked them for the rescue. He introduced himself as Jewel, the team leader of the Recomers. Marco introduced himself, which made York jealous that the girl dared to seduce her teammate. The one who often drifted off had met many good mages, but no one had ever been able to cast so many spells simultaneously like Alex. Like that, everyone was safe, otherwise, they would all be dead. They also praised Loki's strategy. The pair then acted superior, claiming that after this incident, Loki owed them. He was helpless and promised to repay them properly. Regulus then talked about recommending Alex for promotion to S rank. For a party to move from a rank to S rank, they need a recommendation from another S rank person and the guild master. He would be responsible for the recommendation, so when they return, they just need to ask the guild master. Onyx was relieved upon hearing this, as he couldn't trust that cunning guy. To the point that even Loki's team leader wasn't sure if he believed in him either. So the whole crowd joined in to mark the young man, making Loki realize that around him was nothing but. Everyone then returned to the surface safely. Once again, the other party sent their sincere thanks and said goodbye. The legendary party, after having all 4 members, successfully completed their first difficult mission. A few days later, Alex's reputation had spread far and wide. Every day, the guild buzzed with talk about him. The receptionist expressed worrying, asking if he had rested sufficiently after the battle. Also, the amount of money received after this dungeon trip was very large. Just as he was happily leaving, Levin called him because he had a guest. He saw the guild master, who reminded him it was a royal family member, so be careful. Inside, he saw it was Lord Vogel whom he had just met. He asked Alex if he planned to kill the prince. And why didn't he let that guy know how incompetent he was? After hearing that, Alex had to ask if the prince was someone willing to listen to a commoner like him. This answered all of Vogel's questions. He sighed because he had fallen into an extremely unlucky situation. I was also curious who would replace my mage position. Turns out it was him. He said, "What kind of mage am I? I've become a babysitter for that damn kid." Nothing is more troublesome, according to Vogel, since Alex left. The prince has always been testing himself on the 30th floor and received many injuries. He intended to lecture him, but unexpectedly he was forced to train him as well. And now he has to escort him all the way here to find you. That damn kid refuses to acknowledge Alex. Hearing that, the young man wanted to meet him and was led to the arena. Vogel, in general, is different from other nobles, not looking down on Alex or commoners at all. He said that Prince has a bit of pride and feels that being a noble is indeed troublesome. When asked about being a noble himself, Vogel replied that he only lives the way he wants. The two then met, and Regulus spoke about the king wanting to change the kingdom. He also thought it was right, but could only yield that much. Still not acknowledging someone like Alex, how could he shake hands with a commoner when he is the chosen one? Being rejected by his father made this young man bitter. What was the point of trying to learn for 15 years? Regulus grabbed him, saying someone like the protagonist wouldn't be able to understand this feeling. Things had come to this point, so Alex didn't hold back. He said directly that Regulus was thinking wrongly about him. Or rather, he never listened to what Alex had to say. If he had listened, things would have been different. The prince demanded that he stop joking around like a commoner. How could he accept being forced to listen to nonsense? Seeing the blonde guy still didn't understand, Alex shouted. The opponent was the same, so he wanted to fight to find out who was right. During the pastime, Vogel was the one training Regulus. Besides, there was another deal between them. If the prince won against Alex, Vogel would have to advise his majesty to change his mind, as he couldn't trust commoners. He declared right here that he would use his own hands to prove to everyone that he was not wrong. Before Alex could agree, Regulus had already attacked first. The protagonist was a bit surprised that the blonde guy used dual swords. Before, he was the first to advise the prince to use this weapon because it suited him, but he didn't listen. Yet now he switched to using it, which was indeed a shock. Regardless, the gap in power was to clear. Although the speed had improved, Regulus couldn't even touch Alex. He asked Vogel what he did to make the prince like this. He said I only told him that if he wanted to deny the protagonist, he should check for himself. That stubbornness until now could only be proven. That would be better. After a few blows, the young man was already exhausted. Alex praised that stubbornness for still being unchanged. Marked, Regulus rushed in to fight again but still couldn't do anything. Vogel said he didn't like fools who only know how to show arrogance, but he also didn't hate those who dare to act. That's why he gave dual swords for him to fight himself, as those were also relics and quite strong. Unfortunately, the user hadn't fully utilized the weapon's power, so Alex didn't even need to use his sword. Recognizing the support magic just now, Regulus asked if it was because of it that he had been fighting properly all this time, right? No matter how risky or hard the fight, he was safe. The protagonist said the king had ordered him to protect the prince. By this time, the blonde guy understood who the real genius was. He himself couldn't even surpass the 30th floor and always had to flee. Yet in Alex's notes was contained all the necessary information to overcome it, perfectly accurate, without error. Not only the dungeon but also his personality and actions were written down, as if Alex already understood everything. If he was a genius, Regulus wanted to deny it until the end. He demanded that he quickly draw his weapon and fight properly. Responding to that wish, the young man became serious, asking again if he knew the difference in strength and still wanted to fight. He asked one last question, if His Majesty really wanted to change the kingdom situation. Regulus said His Majesty wanted to test the strength of commoners and employ talented people. Both of them were just stepping stones for the king to make a decision. Hearing this, Alex understood why only His Majesty treated him like an adult. He wasn't dissatisfied or anything. On the contrary, he was happy because Alex's original intention was to change the palace anyway. The past few years he thought were meaningless turned out to fulfill his master's wish. Responding to the prince, the young man used an overwhelming aura to slash down. The prince trembled and could only stand there. He thought he would be slashed because he had treated Alex like a dog. He demanded to be slashed to make up for what he had done. Realizing the blonde guy had started to regret, the protagonist was no longer angry. In the end, Regulus had to say the words, "I'm sorry." Alex thought being kicked out wasn't too bad as he was reunited with his friends. Having resolved everything, the prince gave back the royal mage cloak to the protagonist. Additionally, there was a letter from His Majesty sent to him. This was not an order, so Alex refused at all because he had already joined a party now and his friends would surely forbid him from going. He also had no intention of returning again. Hearing that, Regulus still tossed the cloak to him and left. A few days later, Alex's mood was quite good, so he invited his friends out. He asked them to show him around the city. Hearing this, Onyx immediately pretended to have a stomachache and rescheduled, because he couldn't today. Even Sasha did the same to leave the part to York. The red-haired girl being pushed to do it also blushed. Asking again if he still wanted to go, he invited her once more. "Then the two of us going out together is fine too." York was very happy, saying, "Don't worry, let this senior handle everything. This labyrinth city is very developed, so shops are popping up like mushrooms. Armor and weapons or any items for adventurers are all there." To buy good bargains, York's experience was to go to the market instead of specialized stores. Still, one must be careful with merchants who overcharge rookies. Just as she finished saying that, York was tempted to buy a medicine that looked abnormal at first glance. Under the advertisement from the seller, even trash becomes gold. Alex was speechless with this girl, yet she dared to claim to be a senior. He had to pull her hand elsewhere. The red-haired girl told about recently also asking those two friends to buy some things. Once they bought a teddy bear, once a sword, which was just for nothing. The protagonist looked at the nonsense she'd just bought, thinking that daring to say that was indeed something. That's why he suggested from now on whatever needs to be bought, let him do it. Nearby was an eatery, so the couple also went inside to rest. Here he asked about why Onyx and York hated Loki so much. This had to be told from when the blonde guy didn't possess anything yet. He was the rude and violent type, a fighting style that was reckless and feared no one. His good point was that he extremely cherished his weapon. Even back in school, this young man still often wiped his spear after each battle. As long as it wasn't broken, he certainly wouldn't discard it, considering the spear to be a companion that he entrusted his whole life to. But about 2 years ago, after conquering the dungeon, their group saw the errant party in danger. At that time, Loki and Jewel were also present helping resolve the boars to protect an errant young man from death. Onyx used his own body to shield, as a result being seriously injured, but with his personality, he pretended to be fine. Wait until he collapsed, then only was he helped by Loki and Regulus. Everything would be fine if Loki didn't throw away his spear. Because it was cumbersome, he did that. As a result, after waking up and not seeing his beloved weapon, Onyx went crazy. On the contrary, Loki added fuel to the fire, considering weapons just consumable tools, just by another. Everyone knows the Saint of Trickery's personality. Right from the start the two didn't get along, so after that incident, it became even worse. For York, the reason for hating that guy was even bigger. She felt that Loki always brought trouble and was very talkative. That's why she hated him, no other reason. Continuing to wander around the city, they found a shop selling useful items for mages. The Heaven Ribbon is known for its ability to increase the user's total mana. It's just that the amount needed to spend was too high, so York didn't have it. Instead, Alex spent money to buy it because back when he was a royal mage he also had a lot of money. Furthermore, he extremely valued his friend's support magic, considering her magic to be the team's trump card. Receiving the gift, the red-haired girl was very happy, saying she would cherish it for her whole life. Having fun until late afternoon, they watched the sunset together. Asking if Alex liked this place, he said it's very great. Free and bustling, completely different compared to before. Feeling like this is the real meaning of his life. The red-haired girl hearing that recalled the time she met him in Gardena, when the main space was gloomy and he was unemployed. That's why she took advantage of this to invite him to the team. Occasionally thinking back, she felt that was selfish, so she was a bit worried. But knowing he was happy being here, she was more at ease. Alex said he had resolved all the royal mage affairs. From now on he will become the strongest as per Onyx's wish. This is also the wish of all four of them. After hearing that, York was moved to tears, demanding that the protagonist not withdraw midway. She herself is the group leader, so she must be responsible for everyone. Feeling happier when Alex spoke his heart. The young man also wanted to say something quite serious about his true feelings. Hearing this, she even thought he would confess his love. Generally, they also liked each other since the old days, so the red-haired girl also accepted it and closed her eyes waiting for a kiss. Who would have thought that guy would laugh and say he had lost to Onyx in a match, so he had to speak his feelings in his heart, considering it a punishment for the loser. Their York was startled, thinking she was loved already. A few days later Alex was sleeping soundly when he was called up by his friend. Recently, the protagonist has been reading books until almost morning, then only sleeping. That's why the blonde guy demanded that he change his living habits. From now on an adventurer's morning is when they must always be full of energy. That's why the two invited each other to the field to practice. Seeing this, the two girls were also helpless. York saw that using too much strength like that wasn't good. Alex said he wanted to shorten the combat experience gap of the past for years with everyone, so he needed to practice like this. Just like that the two fought to the point of breaking the sword, then only stopping. Onyx didn't think Alex had an experience difference, still as strong as before. They even intended to fight more but were stopped by York. If injured while practicing, then you can't do missions. Just then, the most unwelcome guest came to find them. As soon as he opened his mouth, he marked them again, telling the four that an S-rank person like himself here would help them practice. Everyone hearing this immediately refused, then went into the house. Seeing that, Loki had to show everyone's S-rank cards after they were recommended. Saying that, York was extremely excited, but that guy demanded Onyx apologize, then only he'd give them. While laughing triumphantly, the Saint of Trickery was slapped by his two teammates. Krista and Jewel had to stand up to apologize because actually they only came here to give the promotion certificate on behalf of the Guildmaster. The achievements were all read by their group of four. Everyone has been acknowledged as an S-rank adventurer. From now on, they are allowed to enter dungeons with higher danger levels. If there's anything they don't understand, Alex can ask them. Although the recommendation with the guild master was withdrawn, that much cannot repay the debt of saving lives. If they encounter any trouble later, they will certainly run to help. Loki then invited the ladies to celebrate together. Onyx and Yok thought this guy would cover everything, so they agreed immediately. Just like that, the whole group went out to eat and drink to their heart's content because today they wouldn't need to worry about paying. Becoming S rank for Onyx was just like a starting point on the path to becoming a legend. If Alex has any nonsense thoughts, then don't blame me for punching. Just like that, they called out the most expensive wine to drink, making Loki cry out in pain for his wallet. By evening, Sasha was drunk, so she was carried back by Alex. Just then guild staff came to call Krista to work. Misa announced an emergency. Turns out many people were injured and the healing mage was Krista. The silver-haired girl seeing this was abnormal asked how it turned out like this. Her friend said these people were not attacked by monsters, but humans, a criminal group targeting adventurers. The name mentioned was the Black Guild. The guild master then asked Krista to treat Olivia. The wound was quite heavy, all slashes from a sword. Just as she was about to start, the girl woke up. Krista asked if she could remember anything. Speaking of this, Olivia was extremely furious and shouted about the traitor. The silver-haired girl asked her to lie down if she didn't want to die. Still, being angry, her friend requested treatment immediately to go resolve it. Hearing that, the girl refused to do it anymore because overdoing it would only make the situation worse. Olivia complained that the opponent was S rank but didn't understand anything. Olivia was bitter and grabbed her clothes, saying if the silver-haired girl didn't understand, then don't speak. Just after finishing speaking, she fainted from pain. Looking at the body full of scars, Krista knew this person had gone through many things. To make the top swordsman in this city suffer injury, the opponent must be very strong. Generally, now just try to help her recover. The next day, Alex didn't know anything yet and went to the library to find information about the new dungeon, planning to make up for the missing knowledge of the past for years when someone bothered him. Surprise was that this person knew well about the protagonist. The two then went to an eatery to talk. Miyu introduced himself as a cute cross-dressing boy, and at the same time a member of the S-rank party with Olivia. This guy was looking for someone to fill a gap, so he intended to invite Maine to join to conquer the strongest dungeon together. At the Adventurers Guild by this time, Krista went to visit the patient but saw Olivia sitting on the bed wiping her sword. That girl was very stubborn. The guild master was here too, but didn't know how to stop her. He was also out of options because he asked repeatedly, but she didn't provide any information related to the Black Guild. The silver-haired girl encouraged her friend to rest and recover soon. Asking who attacked, she didn't say. Demanding her to treat her bone and recover her leg to be able to move. Krista introduced herself, then kicked the guild master out on the grounds that she still had to provide treatment. Just like that, she recovered the legs for her but didn't ask anything more about what happened. The silver-haired girl said, "I only do what I can. I'll try my best as much as I can. If not, then there's no need to force it." Understanding more about Krista's personality, she also bowed her head in thanks for helping her recover from the wound. At the same time, apologizing for the harsh words during anger, so this gratitude will definitely be repaid. Krista kissed her forehead lightly, making her startled. She said, "This is like healing magic. It will help Olivia relax and reduce stress." Just like that, she remembered the scene as a child when she was still often kissed on the forehead by her mother like this. The blue-haired girl pretended to be thirsty and asked Krista for help. Just like that, the silver-haired girl was tricked into getting cakes, while Olivia secretly put something in the tea. At home by this time, Alex had let his two teammates know about Mir coming to find him. Since that guy was quite famous, they also knew. The surprise was that young man was older than their entire group combined, because originally Mir was of the elf race. The dungeon the Nameless Party is conquering is Ru. Previously, that young man spoke about the 72nd floor, where their group could not pass. Planning to defeat the floor boss, then go down to the deepest floor to get the dungeon core when something happened. That's why he wanted to ask Alex for help with the main reward being the dungeon core. This friend said there's a person to whom he must definitely repay a debt. Their goal is the Black Guild, because they caused his teammate to be injured. Meaning Mir will handle the Black Guild, while the dungeon conquest will be left to Alex's group to resolve. Somi also gave the protagonist the call to teleport directly down to the 72nd floor, while also asking to send greetings to York. After hearing the story, Onyx immediately opposed because there was a bad smell in this affair. No one is stupid enough to go to the trouble of conquering all the floors and then give the results to another party. Already involved with that troublesome Black Guild too. Although it's very suspicious, Alex still wants to take the deal. York didn't think that guy was trying to set a trap for them. Although eccentric, after all, he's the top pillar of Nameless. Temporarily, Onyx wanted to go ask again what this story was and then only make the final decision. In the guild, there are Nameless members, so asking there would be faster. He guessed Krista had finished treating her, so probably nothing would happen. On the way, the blonde guy showed contempt when an S-rank let the Black Guild beat her nearly to death. Just then Misa ran quickly outside saying something had happened. Krista was encountering a problem after drinking the medicine Olivia put in the water. Luckily it wasn't poison, so she was fine. Important thing was she had left, surely returning to the dungeon to find a way for revenge. Onyx didn't care about other people's business. After all, she was an S-rank swordsman, not some commoner. Why worrying? Assuming Onyx was losing his cool, which wasn't like him, the silver-haired girl spoke about Olivia being betrayed. Someone strong enough to make a top swordsman nearly die, of course, must be worried about. If Olivia returns to find that person, she will surely be in life-threatening danger. Because she's the one treating her, Krista feels she needs to be responsible. Because she's no longer an outsider, she decided to enter the dungeon alone to pursue. Naturally, Alex and York couldn't let their teammate go solo, so they agreed to help. Because, after all, they are members of the same team. Onyx's personality also had to listen, but was a bit hesitant to speak. Their next goal will be Levin, while also finding the lost child. Later, they were present at the gate of the new dungeon. This place is known for many very annoying teleportation traps. Just then friend Morabelle came over to hug Alex and asked softly why she was here, and knew she was coming to find him. But actually, she just heard the information that Olivia escaped the sickbed, so she came here to stop her, but was too late. Since Levin also asked her, this trip will include Morabelle as well. After all, she isn't a rank swordsman like Olivia. Not to mention they're quite close friends. Seeing this woman flirting with her Alex, the red-haired girl quickly pushed her aside so as not to lose her husband. She refused to let her go on the grounds that for people would act easier. Meanwhile, Onyx let the protagonist know that Olivia's nameless party was just a patched-up type. The original members were soloists who gathered to support each other's development. Other than conquering dungeons, the four of them almost didn't care about their opponents. Especially Olivia, who was also a quiet type, hard to talk to, but for Morabelle, she was a kind girl. Previously, she used to follow the blue-haired girl to ask for help with training. Also a few times they went together to conquer dungeons, even though not on the same team. Mia was expelled by Levin, so she could only return to report to the guild master that their party had entered the dungeon to find people. Also thanks to Alex for helping her friend, since she knew she was suffering. The protagonist then received a secret weapon from Onyx, all then raised their spirits and began to enter the dungeon. To be safe, York spent time setting up teleportation gates just as Loki had done. That way, even if separated from the team, any of them could return to this point. Alex saw that and patted her head, praising her for being smart, whereas earlier he thought she was crying about something. Result was York kicked him, making his mouth break. And the end for this action was activating the nearby teleportation trap. Out of options, Alex had to follow and also fell into another trap. However, with his ability, he easily defeated the crowd of monsters inside. Krista also came to support after finding the position through the ring Onyx gave her earlier. No matter where he teleported, the silver-haired girl would find him. York was unluckier having to find that blockhead. At least that friend would be safe because Onyx's strength is fighting. Just like that, the two sides continued to go deep inside. Meeting any difficult monster, they coordinated to attack quickly. Though specializing in bow, that friend still knew how to use a sword for close combat. Sometimes they'd encounter a dungeon countering their best ability. That's why they had to be proficient in many different skills. Alex was also praised for secretly using support spells. To match York's magic would take a long time, but it was enough for them. Going a bit further, they discovered Olivia's bandage here, so they were lucky. Completely opposite to the other couple who fell right into the monster's den. So they were chased by them like dogs. To keep a safe distance, York used a spell to push herself up high. Onyx then safely rushed in to sweep the battlefield. Receiving enhancement, with just one move he scared the rest into running away with tails between legs. To praise this guy for fighting well is just redundant. The blonde guy advised York to praise Alex more next time to help him be confident. Suddenly, they had to stop because of the scene in front. The floor boss was slashed by a single blow. York asked if anyone could do this. Then Onyx remembered someone called Sword Saint Melia. Currently, he's on the side of the Black Guild, so following along also had to praise when this guy was strong enough to slash down the floor boss and the S-rank swordsman Olivia. An extremely famous person, so any of them knew. Loria asked and knew this guy had a history with her. That's why he knew well her fighting style, so he easily defeated her. Asking why he accepted being on this side, it's very simple. The Sword Saint's goal is the same as the Black Guild superiors, just the desire is a bit different, which is to become stronger. At this time, the subordinates ran to announce about the intruders on floor 72. Since they didn't know who it was, they didn't act yet. Melia hoped there would be someone as strong as he desired. Loria allowed the subordinates to act to remove all intruders. On the other side, the pair found Olivia here. She smiled and asked the silver-haired girl to help treat her since she was injured. Krista refused, saying she came here to take her back. Unfortunately, once here, she didn't listen to anyone's advice. If they wouldn't help treat, then hoped they wouldn't block the path. Krista then ordered Alex to catch her. If she didn't say the reason behind, then don't expect to leave. Olivia said she didn't lose to the common Black Guild. This is her own problem, nothing to do with anyone else. Her goal is to kill the one who was her master. Because he left her beloved mother to die. After speaking, Olivia stepped into teleportation herself. Out of options, the pair followed and as a result were taken right to the monster's den. Since in the enemy's hut Krista had to recover the wound for Olivia so she could fight with Alex, they intended to use teleportation to escape here, so they needed the couple to buy time. The number of enemies was very large, so they couldn't handle them all. So the girl swordsman also rushed in to fight, while the silver-haired girl stood creating a teleportation circle. Krista was made difficult by some giant monsters. Turning aside she saw the blue-haired girl slash several heads. Feeling like seeing nothing at all, truly worth being the top S-rank swordsman in the city. Her friend reminded Alex he still hadn't practiced enough. If he's an S-rank swordsman, then don't waste time on things like this. Just then the teammate finished setting up the spell, however before they could teleport, it was neutralized. Someone was using a magic blocking skill. The situation became worse as the monster swarm completely surrounded them. Olivia asked if Alex could do it this time, then he affirmed yes. So they started to clear a path out of the encirclement. Looking at the light but firm sword stroke of the blue-haired girl, the protagonist followed, so as not to lose face. Seeing that, her friend also happily asked his name, while praising his swordsmanship was quite something too. However, it wasn't complete, so still needed more practice. So Olivia guided the young man bit by bit to perfect his sword skill. Outside, Krista also felt where the spell blocker was. They knew if they kept fighting like this, they wouldn't resolve the problem. Alex understood someone would be needed to bait the swarm elsewhere. Olivia didn't say anything, so he understood he'd have to do it. The silver-haired girl also guided the small swordsman to attack the spell blocker. However, the monster number was still very large, so must be careful. Without much talk, Olivia rushed straight into slaughtering the crowd in front. As for Alex, he also tried to lead them to chase him. The giant bird kept swooping down to attack. Its claws were super hard and couldn't be slashed, plus its physical strength far surpassed, so the young man only knew how to dodge. He tricked the aggressive animal into chasing after, and so he downed another giant monster. Still, that bird was very stubborn, immediately tearing the demon's body to scare him, so he had to admit it was quite something. At the same time, on the other side, Olivia was following the bell sound of the spell blocker. By the time it recognized danger approaching, it was too late. With the speed of an S-rank swordsman, the blue-haired girl easily pierced through that monster and destroyed the bell. Asking Krista if she could use the spell, she knew yes. Everything was ready, so Alex also delivered the final blow before leaving. End result was all faded away. Teleportation was done, so the silver-haired girl called Olivia to return. So they coordinated together to escape safely. Here Olivia scolded the guy, clearly he was a mage, but didn't tell her, making her think Alex specialized in sword. The young man laughed, saying he thought she knew. Olivia thought, what kind of mage holds a sword and rushes into the heart of the enemy like that? Yet she herself misunderstood and wasted effort teaching. But anyway, had to thank the two. If she was alone just now, surely she'd have died. So Krista now told them Olivia's body wasn't sound as the appearance. Her recovery spell also couldn't treat all wounds. If continuing to fight like this, then sooner or later something would happen. The silver-haired girl asked about the traitor her friend spoke of. Olivia didn't hide anything and told about it happening when she was small. Her mother, who was an adventurer, unfortunately passed away. After living alone, suddenly the master came to take her for raising. Melia trained Olivia to be a good swordsman. He passed on to her all sword techniques, though sometimes still remembering mother but being cared for by teacher, so considered comforted. Thought everything would be fine, but until recently she knew the truth. Sword Saint showed face, saying very happy when Olivia far surpassed his expectations. Immediately after, he struck down the girl, while revealing one thing, that he himself was the one who killed her mother. After investigating, Olivia knew mother was once Melia's teammate, so also believed his admission was true. Yet she herself lived happily beside the one who killed mother for so many years. Just thinking of that made her blood boil, and she couldn't stand it. After leaving a long scar on Olivia's back, that guy vanished. Robbed of everything, and only this body left, she swore must take revenge. After hearing Alex understood, immediately came to comfort, while praising her sword stroke was very beautiful. He himself previously also fell into the situation of losing everything, but then there were teammates who stood up to help and overcome. So also hoped Olivia would overcome this phase and continue to live. Previously Mia always said to repay the debt to her. Krista also came to advise, although not wanting to get involved in others' grudges, she will still try to treat her wound. He said to rely on those around her because she is not alone. Knowing that, the blue-haired girl feared she would involve everyone. They don't understand how terrifying the Sword Saint truly is. Alex still offered to fight alongside her. Receiving a kiss on the forehead from Krista, the girl calmed down and agreed. The scene shifts to the remaining pair, who had just finished dealing with a pile of monsters, making Onyx annoyed. They wondered if their group was okay. Just then, a group from the Black Guild approached, and the blonde guy spotted them. So he stood up and asked if they had attacked Olivia. The opponents also recognized the red-haired girl and felt lucky that they were the intruders. They were planning to attack, but were wiped out by Onyx in an instant. He scolded the weaklings for a bit. To have such big mouths yet be so weak, they weren't worth bothering with. York used chains to interrogate them about their goal. The guy revealed that the superiors and Melia wanted the dungeon core. Hearing that, the blonde guy suggested returning to find Alex's group. Unfortunately, at this moment, the tied-up man played a trick. He had just swallowed this floor's core and was absorbing its power. Just like that, the bastard destroyed the floor and kidnapped York. He didn't expect to find the desired one right here. Talk about luck. On the other side, Alex was still leisurely telling the girl about his past. He was taught how to use magic by Royal Mage. Back then, because he lost his mother and his father worked far away, magic was his only joy. The three of them then discovered an extremely suspicious large hole. Olivia also found York's hat. At the same time, down below, the red-haired girl had been taken to that guy's accomplices. Gloria was extremely satisfied with this prey. She asked why they hadn't killed her, and besides, they even knew her name. The superior intended to play around for a bit, but was stopped by the sword saint, who demanded not to waste any more time. Just then, he warned about someone coming. Immediately, Onyx's spearhead stabbed straight into that dog. The superior, seeing this, also rushed into combat. The stabbed man survived thanks to eating the dungeon core. He realized the bracelet was what brought the blonde guy here. Onyx realized something was abnormal with this group as they were targeting the red-haired girl. Just like that, she was punched unconscious and taken away with the sword saint. His friend was angry, but was held back by Gloria. The battle made Onyx realize the weapon this guy used contained mana, but wasn't a relic. Therefore, it wouldn't be as durable as this spear. He smashed the sword and then disemboweled that bastard. However, this guy was just like the one before. He completely refused to die. Out of sheer rage, he wanted to kill everyone in his way. Despite having a hole in his body, the flesh and blood still recovered for him as if nothing had happened. Onyx knew this guy wasn't ordinary and was worried. Gloria used a type of blood magic that the blonde guy had never seen before. After that, he still confidently said he would poke a few more holes in the opponent to see if he'd die. True to his word, the young man rushed in and stabbed him many times. The opponent didn't even resist, taking all the damage. However, this madman was still unhurt. On the contrary, he felt even more invigorated than before, stating that no matter how he was attacked, he wouldn't die. Even if his head was sliced off, he could still recover. That was the heretical magic of this person. The more blood flows, the stronger he gets. It's as simple as that. Meanwhile, Onyx only knew how to swing his spear and knew nothing of magic. Completely countered, the blonde guy was immediately pushed back with countless lashes. He felt that the power from that guy had indeed increased tremendously. Furthermore, the magic he used was very annoying. He could freely control his own blood as a weapon. Onyx was pulled back and slammed hard onto the ground, feeling like a few bones were broken. The opponent, seeing the spearman lying still in one spot, laughed triumphantly. Being frustrated, he wanted to use Alex's body as a punching bag to vent his anger. But at least he should die in a grand way. Hearing this, the blonde guy stood up to continue fighting. But in the next second, he was closed in on with a very painful punch from the blonde guy, which left him stunned for a moment. Returning to 6 years ago, when this guy was still studying with Alex, at that time, they had a practice match to see who was the academy's genius. Onyx claimed he was invincible, never having lost to a sword user, while the protagonist was at the peak of his form. So he taught his opponent a lesson he'd never forget. The two female friends watching the match also commented that Alex inherently had a talent for the sword from the start. Onyx was strong, yet he could do nothing against him. In the final phase, the blonde guy threw his spear away to engage in hand-to-hand combat. At the climax, the teacher stepped in to stop it. Although the battle wasn't settled, Alex still admitted he lost. He explained that Onyx's move of letting go of his weapon was too sudden to predict. If the fight continued, the chance of his own defeat was very high, hence, he admitted defeat. Being praised as skilled, the other guy was happy too. Recalling this, Onyx's spirit became even more excited. It's been a long time since he fought with his hands like this. If he were to be compared with the other three friends, he wouldn't measure up. Alex is a genius in offensive magic while York is a defensive genius. And Krista is a genius at healing. He had nothing, so he had to try harder to be worthy of the title combat genius. Having been punched too much, Gloria lost energy and could do nothing. Claiming that the more blood he loses, the stronger he gets, he decided to switch tactics. Hearing this, the opponent also stood up, thinking Onyx kept rambling on. If you won't poke holes in me anymore, then I'll poke them myself. Just like that, the madman stabbed himself to get blood for an attack. He created a giant magic circle that threatened Onyx's safety. Thus, a red whirlwind appeared and rushed straight toward the blonde guy. The scene shifts to the Adventurers Guild, where the guild master is complaining about the cross-dressing guy eating non-stop. Mia was like, "Is it good for you to drink alcohol every morning then? You're already an alcoholic, and you dare to judge others." The guild master made an excuse, saying that for him, this is just like drinking water. Taking this chance, he asked him why he chose Alex's party to ask for help. Mia said it's because they've reached S rank, so it's fine. He had also heard rumors about a person who used 5-colored magic to defeat Hydra. To be able to launch 5 types of attributes at the same time is indeed terrifying. The person he was referring to was Alex. Even the guild master believed the legends about their party were true. Just then, the S-rank swordsman girl ran in to announce that Olivia had escaped into the dungeon. The luckiest part is probably that Alex's group is chasing after her, so they don't need to worry anymore. The guild master was worried about his plan to ambush the Black Guild. Fearing that Olivia's situation would affect her, he had to do something as well. Outside, he asked Morabelle if she had ever seen Alex use more than 2 magic attributes. Normally he only uses lightning and fire. This means that for some reason, Alex has currently lost his former strength and can no longer use 5-colored magic. In short, they had to go find those people now, as something might happen. At this time, the protagonist group was still trying to find York's whereabouts. They happened to arrive right at his best friend's place and conveniently blocked the enemy's attack. His full counter surprised Loria. Onyx, having been saved, also praised Alex for his perfect timing. He thought they had defeated the opponent, but not yet. Even after taking the full brunt of the attack, his body was still very healthy. Olivia recognized what that guy was using and warned everyone to be careful. The blonde guy then announced that York had been taken away, right in front of him. The subordinate of the Black Guild had the ability to eat dungeon cores, and with him was the sword Saint Olivia was looking for. Although the reason they targeted the red-haired girl was unknown, the top priority was to rescue her. Intending to fight alone again, Krista gave him a slap. While healing his wounds, she suggested Alex stay behind to stand side by side with him, while she and her friend would go rescue York. Just like that, the battle continued. Laurie's ability flared up but was countered by the protagonist. Taking the chance, the 2 girls ran away. The guy was so bitter he demanded Alex stop using full counter. He challenged him, saying "Face me then." After a while, Lauria collapsed when his magic was neutralized. His ultimate move was strong, but when he ran out of mana, there was no saving him. At the same time, the guild master had entered the dungeon. He spoke about the demon guard worshipped by the Black Guild. Levin warned to be careful with anyone with the black mark on them. They are incredibly desperate, not only strong but also fearless. And they don't care about the price paid in exchange for power. On the other side, Lauria had now activated the black mark to strengthen his body. Immediately after, Onyx was lunged at and bitten until he bled. Even the speed of lightning when fired was dodged in an instant. Alex was shocked that this person was so fast. The young man used more large-scale magic so the opponent couldn't dodge. Lightning struck continuously, but was still ineffective. That guy explained more about his type of magic, which is turning blood into mana. Therefore, he'd never run out. As long as he hasn't run out of blood, no matter how he is attacked, he cannot be killed. Alex then tried to defend, but his barrier was shattered. If it were York, she could have endured it, but he isn't specialized in this spell. Onyx continued to rush into the fight, but couldn't keep up with the speed. Lauria marked, saying how come a genius is so weak. The blonde guy took hit after hit without being able to resist. The opponent also wanted them to know why he was known as Lauria of Wrath. As for Alex, he was told to stand still. Clearly, he could kill Onyx at any moment, so he wanted the protagonist to witness his friend's death. Just then, the blonde guy jumped up and gave him a stab. He recalled when he was a kid, he had a friend who was also a genius with a spear. Losing continuously made him bitter and determined to surpass that guy. But a while later, that friend fell ill and lost the ability to move. He also handed over the title of genius to Onyx, but it wasn't very pleasant. At this moment, the blonde guy unexpectedly used fire magic within his weapon. Each stab was accompanied by a powerful flame that burned the opponent's internal organs. As for the 2 female friends, they were running toward the deepest floor to rescue the red-haired girl, while the sword saint and the subordinate were already at the 73rd floor. Here, as expected, was the dungeon core they were looking for, so they were very excited. Alex's battle had now decreased in danger as the opponent's blood was burned by the heat from the spear. Loria could no longer become any stronger. Seeing this, the blonde guy asked Alex to fire more spells at him. Without a bit of hesitation, the protagonist used fire magic to fire straight at Onyx. Thanks to that, the spear just burst into flames. Since it was unexpected that there was this type of attack, the opponent could do nothing. In terms of skill, the blonde guy was superior. Furthermore, he didn't have the chance to use blood to attack as before, so it was useless. Very quickly, an arm was severed and could not be recovered. This is the fighting style of this pair, with added fire. Once again, Onyx rushed forward. Laureate didn't want to lose to a small fry either, so he chose to go all out. The blonde guy admitted he was very strong, so he should be truly grateful. Because if he defeats him here, he'll have more experience later. Very quickly, Onyx eased the remaining arm of the guy. At the same time, he remembered the image of his childhood friend. Thanks to him, he was able to become stronger. The young man declared he was a genius, and then launched the finishing blow. Hundreds of spear thrusts were stabbed through the villain's body. As a result, all limbs were severed and could not be regenerated anymore. Before leaving, the blonde guy had to thank him once again for becoming a stepping stone for them to develop further. As for York, she had now woken up on the deepest floor. That guy showed her the dungeon core. He looked delighted that what they risked their lives for had been snatched by him. Just as he finished laughing, the sword saint behind him delivered a surprise slash. He found this guy to be an eyesore. After slashing him, he picked up the dungeon core, saying there was no more need for the Black Guild. York was called the Desired One, making the red-haired girl not understand anything. The Sword Saint spoke of Eden. If she was the Desired One, then she would surely see it. Bringing the dungeon core to turn my wish into reality. The red-haired girl had never heard of this before. The guy who was just slashed also spoke up, calling the Sword Saint a bastard. He should watch out for daring to cause trouble for the Black Guild. No matter how strong he is, they'll hunt him down. Hearing this, he gave a smile. He let them know that was his wish. What he needs now is power. To get it, experiencing the feeling of continuous combat is indispensable. After explaining, the Sword Saint sent the guy to meet his end early. This guy hoped the Black Guild would entertain him, because since achieving the title of Sword Saint, finding an opponent was very difficult. That's why he created Olivia to play with. Seeing Melia, the swordsman girl was very bitter. Seeing her teammates present, York was relieved, knowing Alex would come to save her soon. She advised the opponent that he'd better run away with his tail between his legs. But he wasn't afraid at all. On the contrary, he was more interested, asking if the Alex she mentioned was the one with the last name Evil. Confirming that, he was extremely excited because it seemed he had previously fought the protagonist's mother. On the other side, Onyx knew his strength was limited, so he asked to stay behind to rest. Alex promised to rescue the red-haired girl, so don't worry. His best friend could only say that the Sword Saint was not a normal person, so be careful because in school days until now, their teacher had always warned them. Don't mess with the Sword Saint's party. That guy had already achieved the title of Sword Saint before they were anything. The friend then asked that no matter what happens, don't discard yourself. Alex only smiled, but didn't agree. Immediately after, he also used a bracelet to teleport away. The battle between the teacher and pupil now broke out. Melia advised Olivia to hurry up because the time for play wasn't much longer. But unexpectedly, this friend ran to save York first, while Krista used the support friend behind. The opponent seeing that took his cloak to block all damage. In this guy's eyes, no one was capable of making him happy. The three girls began to coordinate to attack. Sasha coordinated with York. York's chains were completely unable to hold him. The arrow was also blocked with a single slash. The arrow was fired with full force accompanied by magic, yet it still couldn't injure him. Olivia knew he'd seen through their skills, so she approached to slash from behind. Pity that even an S-rank swordsman couldn't ambush this person. The blue-haired girl said she wouldn't stop until she took his head to avenge her mother. The opponent noticed that her old wounds had healed completely, praising that healer for being truly talented. Furthermore, her two good friends also supported her very well. However, a crowd of managers gathered together will never achieve anything. Melia felt truly disappointed in his disciple. Even though she had learned all the techniques from him, she still had to rely on others. The Sword Saint's shadow was still too large for this girl. Olivia recalled when she used to argue with her friend. The person who always encouraged and comforted her was her mother. She was asked to become stronger so as not to be bullied by anyone anymore. Just like that, the girl began to practice hard to hope that one day she would be as strong as her mother and teacher. The blue-haired girl then rushed into slash, demanding the other guy stop pretending to be her father. She had suffered a lot until today. The opponent, not caring, directly knocked her back. Krista, seeing that again, used bow and arrow to support Sasha supported. In this part, unexpectedly, she was criticized by the opponent for being too superficial. For him, loneliness is what makes people strong. Instead, accompanying people like this is of no use. He planned to slash those two girls to make Olivia hate him even more. A perfect killing move was slashed. Just when they thought they were doomed, Olivia used her body to shield her two friends. The silver-haired girl, seeing that hurriedly used a healing spell, Olivia admitted she was still very weak. But if she couldn't protect others, then she'd rather be weak. Just then, Alex appeared in an extremely bad mood. The young man kept slashing, but the Sword Saint still managed to block. In terms of swordsmanship, naturally a mage could not surpass someone standing at the peak. He questioned the opponent why he made Olivia suffer so much. He answered very gently that it was because she was weak, which made Alex's blood boil even more. The opponent then demanded that as a mage, he'd better use spells, otherwise using a sword would be looking down on this Sword Saint. Hearing this, the protagonist seriously used offensive magic. He called upon the fire dragon and had it lung at the enemy. Melia didn't dodge, but directly blocked the blow to see how strong the move was. Those witnessing were astonished when this guy even slashed through the dragon's magic. Although blood still shed, if the Royal Mudge's title was only that, then it was to pour. He didn't feel any killing intent from Alex at all. Provoked, Alex also determined to discard his high ideals to protect his friends. Had Onyx guessed what his friend would do, so he advised him before. Alex said he had to apologize and then activated his ultimate skill. Mana within his body surged out. Yok also wanted to stop him, but was told by Krista it was too late. The Sword Saint knew about this ability. The existence of a characteristic type of magic. When in this state, Alex can completely use all elemental attributes. This is Alex's trump card. Seeing that aura, Melia was very happy. He didn't expect a fool like Alex to pull off this trick. This is a state Alex created specifically for himself. The 5 major elements then gather to create a new offensive magic. Must be known that absorbing mana from nature will poison the body, thus no mage dares to supplement mana from an outside source. That's the common sense, until Alex discovered a way to supplement mana without being poisoned. That year was when his party was about to face Hydra on floor 68. This creature possessed 5 heads, divided into different elemental attributes. Therefore, they needed to use 5 opposing attributes to attack. Mana is everywhere, so Alex thought to turn his body into a vessel. But first, he needed to discharge all mana out, then he could freely borrow surrounding mana. Everyone advised him not to play around, even if he could do it, it was harmful to the body. Returning to the peak battle between the two strong ones. The Sword Saint still hadn't gotten over the shock of a fool using this method to attack. The 5 major elements were fired at the same time. Seeing this, Melia still rushed into slash without dodging. In the first phase, he successfully blocked, but on the second shot, Alex used wind magic to slash his body. Feeling the pain, this person was extremely excited. His friends were also glad that there was finally an effect. Alex continued to use continuous offensive magic. The whirlwind surrounded the Sword Saint. Hundreds of wind blades were fired down, but he still blocked them all. He gave a compliment to Alex for being able to make him serious. However, the battle was still not over, and only when they leave themselves at the threshold of death will they become stronger. After a few surprise slashes, one of Melia's red swords was broken. He extremely enjoyed it because very few were strong enough to push him to death's door. Alex was acknowledged as one of those capable of killing the Sword Saint. That's why he decided to use all his power to treat him. At the same time calling him Elders' disciple. This phrase made Alex remember his old teacher. He questioned why he knew about his master, he admitted it, and not only knew, but knew very well at that. Melia said to give up searching for that royal mage, others might be fine, but for Alex, it's different. This phrase made it hard for the protagonist to understand what he was implying. Melia said Elders never revealed the true secret of his mother's death to him. Others simply told him that his mother died of disease. Yet this person knew well about what happened that year. He let him know that Alex's mother didn't simply die because of some nonsense disease, saying she was much more dangerous. Talk about the old stuff is enough. He doesn't like long storytelling, saying one day Alex will grasp the truth himself. So for now, just focus on the battle in front of you. Melia took out the dungeon core to absorb. The power explosion was even more terrifying than Alex's earlier. He was also shocked at this sight. Melia's blade was now more dangerous than ever. He urged his opponent to quickly strike for him to test new techniques. At the same time, at Onyx's place, he was being helped by the guild master and the other two. He told of Alex using limit break, also known as five-colored magic. The guild master saw Alex looking so gentle yet thinking of such a crazy ultimate move. The swordsman girl hearing this liked the protagonist even more. However, the blonde guy said that technique is not without its weakness. The user's body will turn into a cannon barrel, the moves launch like cannonballs firing continuously. At most Alex can only use it for 10 minutes. If time is exceeded, his body will shatter because it cannot endure. That's why he wanted to go to Alex to help before something terrible happened. Those people saw him unable to even walk properly, yet still acting up. The guildmaster let them know that the opponent they just defeated was not ordinary at all. Loria was a reputable officer in the Black Guild. He then called one more person out to handle it. The bald guy asked if the other person had any prayer before dying. Basically, he's a priest, so he will be able to help. Monk said so, and right after that, this man let souls come out and devour Loria's body. As for the Sword Saint's case, the guildmaster was a bit worried. Even as a genius, Alex could not defeat that person. Especially when the opponent knows how to exploit power from the dungeon core. There are many different types of cores, and the strongest is the heart of the dungeon. A single Sword Saint was rated as equivalent to 4 S-rank swordsmen combined. The dungeon core will help him amplify mana significantly. On the other side, Alex was encountering difficulties with the mana slashes from long range. It was so strong that even if he put all his strength to resist, it was not enough. Luckily, Sasha stood up to support. Nonetheless, the protagonist was still pushed back. Olivia told the two girls that what the Sword Saint used was called mana slash. He had covered mana over the blade, and then fired it. This skill is extremely simple yet very strong. To help Alex, Olivia spoke her plan to her two friends. From the time limit break was activated until now, it's been more than 5 minutes. Alex's body began to feel sore, so this battle needs to end early. However, the difficulty is not being able to defend against the opponent's attacks. The young man tried to think of a way to handle the dungeon core to bring the battle to an even state. The red-haired girl then used chains to bind continuously. She said she would bet all mana on holding him back. Alex took the chance to launch 5-colored magic, but it was all slashed. He created a wall of fire to block vision and then continued to combine elements. The opponent countered with a stronger slash, neutralizing the magic strike. The situation was extremely difficult as Alex was about to reach his limit. Krista, seeing that, asked him to do as before when the three of them fell into the monster's lair. Understanding the issue, the protagonist immediately switched form to use a sword, making Melia surprised. Even magic couldn't beat it, yet he dared use a sword. He slashed one more blow, but it was neutralized. Outside, the silver-haired girl had created a magic suppression zone. Thus, it was now a duel between two sword users. The protagonist rushed in to slash, but as a result, he was the one taking the move. Melia assessed their way was not feasible. It's true his mana slash was sealed, but his swordsmanship was supreme. Suddenly, there was a way to disappoint the Sword Saint. Alex then drank recovery medicine, saying, "We will fight together and win." Just like that, they continued to compete in swordsmanship. At the present time, his close combat ability was better. However, fighting against someone specialized in swords, he still lost as usual. Recalling Olivia's advice, he continued to rush into slash, regardless of if his body was being cut. Thanks to the risky move, he got the enemy's blood. Melia thought Alex should reconsider which path to choose. Magic talent aside, he was also a skilled swordsman. As he was planning to launch the finishing blow, Olivia appeared and struck first. A long cut was on the body, but Melia felt no pain. The blue-haired girl called the opponent master, and then asked why he taught her the sword yet threw her away. His goal was to become stronger, yet in her eyes now, the master's blade was no longer as sharp as before. Still, she also asked what the real reason for betraying her was. The opponent demanded she defeat him first before talking more. Olivia wasn't afraid and just competed in strength. This caused the previous wound to bleed. The blue-haired girl said she's fine. This is the way swordsmen fight. Alex also just withdrew, while also asking him to pass a word to elders that he is still healthy and capable enough to defeat the Sword Saint. This marking sentence made Melia's blood boil. Alex said there were 10 seconds left to reach the limit, intending to deceive the opponent. The guy didn't suspect anything, so he fell into Krista's trap. Their goal would be effective as soon as the magic suppression skill wore off. According to Olivia, no matter how strong he was, he still wouldn't be able to react. They would utilize the 1-second difference to counterattack. Just like that, Alex launched his lightning ultimate, shocking the Sword Saint. This hit actually made him feel pain. Right after, Olivia took the spot and slashed again. Taking the chance, while the Sword Saint was losing his cool, Krista on the outside shot the decisive arrow to end the match. The Sword Saint collapsed after being tricked. Those others were simply bait. The silver-haired girl was the real trump card. After being restrained by the friends, the Sword Saint was forced to give them the dungeon core as the winner's prize. The red-haired girl then spoke about Eden, the reason the Black Guild targeted her, which was the land that grants human wishes according to Melia's words. He also admitted this, for normal adventurers, the dungeon core is simply a mana amplifying item. But actually, it also has its own will. Still, only few can actually hear its voice. Such people will be called the Chosen One like York, and when enough cores bearing the will of Eden are collected, the path leading to Eden will truly be lit. Hearing this answer, Olivia could not accept it. She thought his wish had to be bigger to be able to do such terrible things. Alex then spoke up, demanding an explanation for everything. As a master, he should be responsible for answering for his disciple. Hearing this, Melia also followed, speaking about the incurable disease that adventurers contract. That disease will turn humans into monsters due to the dungeon's power. The Sword Saint story began a long time ago, when the party was first formed. All of them were prominent. The most special was Olivia's mother. She lived in the dungeon as a swordsman and also died there. One day, this teammate was turned completely into a monster. The last words were, "Please fulfill my wish." Melia immediately drew his sword to finish the teammate to free her from suffering. After doing so, he felt he needed to be responsible, so he adopted Olivia. Since then, they had always practiced together. The blue-haired girl then had qualities just like her mother. Because she loved her master, she always tried to imitate everything. Also, she asked why Melia never cut his hair because that way holding a sword would become cumbersome. He said not cutting it was so as not to forget the old story. Hearing this, Olivia also confessed that for her, he was like a father. After hearing this, the Sword Saint suddenly felt afraid. The girl's eyes looked exactly like the mother he had killed. From swordsmanship to habits, everything she tried to imitate him. The more Olivia clung to him, the higher the responsibility in his heart grew. Then a question appeared in his mind about Olivia's mother. Maybe at that time, the mother's wish was to return to live beside her daughter. And he himself had stolen that wish, but at the same time, he knew about Eden. The place said to be able to fulfill every wish. So he chose to throw everything away to find it and revive Olivia's mother. Ultimately, that was just his own selfishness. To be hunted by his disciple and finally die here, surely that was the price to be paid. Speaking up to here, Melia demanded Olivia quickly act to avenge her mother. Hearing these words, the blue-haired girl felt weak-hearted and couldn't act. Just then, other friends were present. Morabelle and me saw her friend was still fine and ran to hug her. They even thought they wouldn't see each other anymore. Getting calm, the blue-haired girl said she had no hobby of torturing losers. Therefore, he will have to serve his sentence on the surface. She herself has also learned to face the pain he caused, so it will be fine. Hearing this, Melia recalled the teachings he once told Olivia, that loneliness would make a person stronger. The Sword Saint smiled, praising the disciple of old for finally becoming strong, right? Tears also fell from emotion, but nothing could be done. From now on, she must say farewell to that teacher, that father. The guildmaster then also sent greetings to the Sword Saint since they hadn't seen each other in a long time. The two sides exchanged a few words about Levin withdrawing from the battlefield yet still coming here. He said he also wanted to sleep soundly, but since the other caused so many things, he had to come all the way here. Reminding Melia that if he wanted to die, then die alone, don't drag others along. Since there were no words left to say, he also willingly accepted being tied up. As for Alex, he also had to be praised, worthy of being Eldas's disciple, or rather Aria's son. Wondering what he would do after knowing the truth about his mother's death. Right after, he was locked inside a coffin by the priest using souls. The blonde guy asked his friend about the last sentence. Alex didn't know either, thinking the Sword Saint had known his mother before. Levin then excused himself to return, making an appointment for Olivia to soon come to the guild for a long-time review. Just after finishing, the blue-haired girl was knocked unconscious on the spot by Morabelle. Seeing this scene, that woman had to beg Krista to save her friend. The protagonist himself couldn't hold on anymore and just leapt. The silver-haired girl was very angry at Olivia for repeatedly putting herself in danger. While treating her, she mumbled scolding, making the blue-haired girl feel killing intent behind her back. Since she knew her mistake, Olivia also had to apologize. Conversely, she blamed the silver-haired girl for possessing a super recovery ability. That's why Alex fought in a risky way, because he knew no matter how large the wound, it would be recovered now. This is probably the trust for teammates. Hearing these praises, the silver-haired girl was also shy. Mir saw the scene of them becoming closer, and was very happy. He had to thank Alex a lot for supporting. Furthermore, he was not angry with the teammates for taking risks, thinking everyone has their own will. However, he was also very worried when seeing Olivia collapse with her body full of blood. The two sides then shook hands and formed a friendship. Morabelle took the chance to flirt too, saying she wanted to see him use limit break with her own eyes. The red-haired girl was not to be outdone and immediately grabbed the other arm to claim ownership. After resolving everything, they also asked how to divide the rewards. Onyx intended to charge, but Yok thought they should give it to Levin because their group was the one that conquered the dungeon from start to finish. They only came to this floor to help. How could they take all the credit? However, the friend was very reasonable and immediately gave the call back to the red-haired girl because they had defeated the Sword Saint. But suddenly it glowed, making the red-haired girl unconscious on the spot. In a dream, Eden truly appeared. Asking if the Chosen One wanted to come to this place to pick golden fruit. If so, then follow the correct order, collect cores, and proceed to this place. He's still waiting for the warriors to come. After waking up, the red-haired girl found herself lying next to Alex. He was still sleeping because of tiredness, so the opportunistic girl intended to give him a kiss. Unfortunately, at this time, Onyx spoke up, saying carrying them back made him tired to death. Krista had also been sitting here for some time, making Yok shy as her feelings were exposed. Later, the red-haired girl also told her friends about the Eden dream. It's very possible that what the Sword Saint said about the core was the truth. However, after holding it once more, nothing happened. The protagonist recognized that Yok would continue to be targeted by the Black Guild because she is a special person. Hearing this, she wanted to know more about her origin and why the Black Guild knew things she herself was not aware of. All confusing things happening, so they are forced to continue investigating through dungeon conquest. Hearing this, Onyx was very supportive because simply let him go fight. At this time, Alex announced the sad news to everyone that he could no longer use magic. Using limit break caused consequences that couldn't be worse. That's why he asked Olivia to train him in swordsmanship to compensate. To fight strong enemies, a lot of experience is needed. Practice matches with Onyx alone were not enough. The blue-haired girl then asked the red-haired girl if she had any siblings. Yok said she didn't know because her past was very complicated. Olivia then talked about someone called Goran, who has the same last name as York, and is the leader of the Black Guild. The reason they targeted the red-haired girl is likely also because of the relationship with the one named Goran. Knowing the teammate was worried, Alex encouraged her, saying no matter what happens, he will still protect her. A few days later, their party was introduced to go to the National Martial Arts Congress for training. From mercenaries to adventurers, every type was there. Therefore, if wanting to become stronger, you can fight with people like that. Although not knowing what awaits them ahead, Alex and his 3 teammates are still very confident in winning the prize.